What's up, Buttercups? My name is Caitlin Donald, and I am one of the educators at the Dubuque Museum of Art, and this is the next video in the Art Adventures series. Today's topic is all about the stuff we all hate but all love. Today's topic is about money and the artwork we see every day. Now, fair warning, I went to art school. I know very little about the actual economy. This topic was actually pretty hard to research. I kept getting results about art made of money instead of the art that was actually on the money. And it made me think that these artworks are probably the most underappreciated things in the world. Everybody wants them, but how often do we actually stop and look at all the work that went into designing these things? So before we get started, let's go over some quick terms. Currency means money. Banknote means paper money. Financial means things or stuff to do with money. And counterfeit means fake money. The first time that we see objects used as currency is around 1200 BCE. So you know those shells in every craft store in every town in every state? Not the swirly ones, but the ones that look a little bit like alien eggs? Those were and are the most widely used currency in pretty much all of history. And around 1000 BCE, China actually began making metal versions of these shells. These were the first primitive versions of round coins. Later, Chinese coins became flat and had holes stamped through them so they could easily be carried around on a chain or rope. But that still got really heavy. So, after a short run of leather money, flying money was made in 806 BCE. This was the world's first paper money, and it would fly away in the wind, but it was still a lot better than hauling around a bunch of coins on a chain. Around 500 BCE, we finally get what we consider a modern coin. These coins were made from lumps of silver and melted down and stamped. This system was made commonplace by ancient Greeks, and instead of using whatever was around, like the Chinese coins, the Greeks actually used valuable metals like gold, silver, and bronze. This made the coins worth as much as what the coin was actually made of, or as much as about a handful of arrows. Each city-state in Greece made their own coins, and the coins were stamped with pictures that showed what the city was known for, pictures that the city was proud of. The stamping helped to show that the coins were real money and not counterfeit. And although the early coins only had one image on one side, many people began to see the value of representing their city on both sides of the coin. This doubled their visual message and promoted their home. The designs were often used for centuries, and some coins had images of meaningful animals or important crops. A lot of coins had images of gods and goddesses or important mythical stories that were a part of these people's lives. The city of Athens had the head of Athena, the goddess of wisdom and war, on one side, and on the other was her owl with an olive branch on the other. For the city of Knossos, they chose to have a story on their coin. So they chose the Labyrinth. And this is from a myth where a king named King Minos would send his enemies to this really big maze, and they would be eaten by this terrible monster called a minotaur. The Labyrinth was said to be built in Knossos, which is why they put it on their coin. Lots of coins had images of sea creatures like turtles or crabs or an octopus. This was to show how good the city was at trading along the coasts. Ancient coins are extremely important, and this is because the artwork you see on money tends to be extremely important. We show our values, our history, and our culture on our money, and this has kind of been the trend throughout all of history. That's why surviving Greek coins are so necessary to understanding what was important to these ancient people. We get a better look at what their culture was like. By the 1700s, printed money was pretty common. It was most often made by carving or engraving onto a metal plate, then inking it up kind of like a stamp and making a bunch of banknotes. In fact, Paul Revere wasn't just the guy that warned people about the British, but he was also a talented engraver. He was tasked with making the metal plates for the first ever US currency, and these banknotes were called Continentals. Continental money often had really pretty borders, but it also had a lot of symbolic images, like this unfinished pyramid. This pyramid has 13 levels. The 13 levels represents the 13 American colonies. The pyramid is unfinished, showing us that we as a nation still have room to grow, and there's a lot more colonies that we can create. Counterfeiting became a major problem among the American colonies. Methods to prevent copying included things like printing actual leaves on the banknotes that had individual patterns that couldn't really be copied. The phrase, "'tis death to counterfeit," was also a fun addition to some banknotes. During the Revolution, the British took great pains to make a lot of fake money and flood the colonies with it. By the end of the Revolution, these continental banknotes were pretty much useless due to all the counterfeit. This prompted the very first official United States currency in 1793. 11,178 1-cent coins were made and distributed. In 1886, the U.S. issued the only banknote ever to show a real, non-fictional woman. This is Martha Washington. She appears with her husband, and she is on the original $1 silver certificate. Silver certificates were banknotes that some could trade for real silver, and they were known to be some of the prettiest banknotes America ever made. The $5 silver certificate from the 1896 series is probably my favorite. It features a woman who represents electricity, and she is bringing light to the world. So this artwork is commenting on the fact that America at this time was leading the way in technology. We had light bulbs, which is pretty cool, and we put them on our money. Gold certificates used color and were sometimes called the Technicolor currency. They were considered to be some of the most vivid American currency ever made. Today, modern bills are pretty much made the same way. They're still made by engraving. They might have an addition of fluorescent lighting and a fridge, but the method is still pretty much the same. Engravers today have to actually study for 10 years before being trusted to work on their own American bills. In doing this video, I kind of realized that money seems to be the most popular art form to be copied illegally. There's a huge market for counterfeit paintings, but the paintings have to be really, really famous, and the artists have to be really, really good. The artwork on money not only has to project a certain image, it has to look good, it also has to be durable, but it's the only artwork that specifically evolved to not be copied, except by those who have the authority to do so. It's art where the artists have to actually think about the fact that someone's eventually going to steal the image, and they have to take measures to avoid that. When I'm drawing, I never have to think about that. I just draw. But the artwork on money is loaded with details and lines, things like color-changing ink or even hidden pictures. Images on money show us what we want our country to be, and what we as a group of people value, and what we want outsiders to know about us. It's artwork we see literally every day. And some argue that the art we see on bills and coins and banknotes is some of the most recognized and well-known artwork in the place it's from. But we never really call it artwork or even think about it as art. If your home was a country, what kind of money would you guys make? Would you make coins representing each room, like the Greek coins? Or would you make extremely detailed paper banknotes that show historical events in your house or important people in your family. Money is kind of, I don't know, people kind of think of it as the devil, but also, if you actually look at it, it's very beautiful. And it's a very beautiful work of art most of the time. Anyway, that's it for me, guys. It's midnight, and I need to go to sleep. So I hope you guys learned a little bit of something and got to think about something a little bit outside the box. I will see you guys next time. Peace out.